From this empty canyon comes the lifeblood of Botswana's economy, diamonds. In a continent where mineral wealth has fueled wars and upheaval, here the Earth's natural treasures have led to the emergence of a real African success story. The wealth torn from this landscape has given Botswana's people living standards unmatched in most of Africa, but it has provided no protection from the curse ravaging the whole of this continent. Botswana's mineral wealth and the extent to which it has been transformed by it has been overshadowed in recent years by the relentless spread of the HIV virus. Several international surveys speak of Botswana as being the worst affected country in the world. Even the government's own figures speak of an infection rate at 35%, affecting the most productive generations, those aged between 15 and 40. Even here at this mine, the richest diamond mine in Africa, a third of the workforce are believed to have been infected. And in the last 6 years, the rate of HIV-related deaths has increased by 3 times. 17 years after the first HIV case was diagnosed in Botswana, there is now a real sense of urgency about this crisis. HIV does not discriminate. It is killing managers and workers alike. For Debswana, the national mining company, joining the fight against HIV is now a matter of staying in business.
We had high prevalence in a high prevalence country, in a high prevalence region. So therefore, you're not going to sit back and say you will try and recruit from outside because your own organization is affected. The market for us is in the same position, particularly where you're talking about Southern Africa, where we believe that this is where the highest prevalence is. So the business imperative for us was, what are we going to do? And we thought, let us extend the productive life of our employees and relieve them, because if we extend their livelihood, it actually means that they stay longer in employment, they are more productive, we keep them out of the hospital, they earn a living for their own children.
Debswana covers virtually all the costs of treatments for HIV for all of its employees and their wives, including the provision of antiretroviral drugs. But their company-wide policy does not stop there. AIDS awareness courses for staff are an integral part of the program, providing information on safe sex and an opportunity to overcome misconceptions.
Way back we thought, no, condoms are just for white people and we are not interested in them. But now we have been made aware, we have been taught the dangers of not using a condom, we have been taught how to practice safe sex.
Yeah, the guys are prepared to use the condoms because ladies have been complaining that we have been cheating them. So it's our turn now to see if they are cheating us.
But when I asked how many of them were now prepared to seek voluntary HIV tests, most, it seemed, were still to be convinced. No one? AIDS has forced Botswana into a change of national direction. People in this country used to expect to live until they were almost 70. Life expectancy has now been reduced to 44. Botswana's government is almost alone in southern Africa in acknowledging AIDS to be the dominant national issue, overriding all others, an illness which has left no one untouched.
In Botswana, everybody has been affected.
Do you personally know?
I personally have lost relatives. I personally know people who have died. I personally know people who are living with HIV/AIDS.
Botswana's national crusade against AIDS stands little chance of success unless the disease is also fought vigorously in rural communities. In the village of Khabane, the Khalibechwe family are caring for relatives with HIV at home. 2 brothers in this one household lie dying of AIDS. They should be the family's main breadwinners. Instead, it is they who are having to be constantly cared for and nursed. Rogers Khalibechwe is 45. He used to be a builder, but AIDS has sapped him of all his strength. He can no longer feed himself, and his sense of hope has also been destroyed.
le bete yana ka go amokoloi ke dilo tse e leng gore ga se mo go ka baakangwang ke ituletse fela.
Primary healthcare clinics are at the cutting edge of Botswana's attempts to combat AIDS. By the end of this year, antiretroviral drugs will be made available to all who need them. Unlike South Africa, there has been no argument here about the usefulness of these drugs. The government has been utterly pragmatic about cooperating with international pharmaceutical companies. Nurse Malasela treats dozens of people every day at the Naledi clinic. Few know or are willing to admit that they may have HIV. It's her job to identify those showing symptoms, to refer them for tests and counsel them. But many know that if their condition is discovered, they will be shunned by their community.
Most people will find that they shine away from that person. They don't want to be in contact with the person because they just take it that in case maybe they come closer or give care to that person, they are going to take the virus also. It will be transferred to them. So it's sort of having more stigma.
Despite extensive AIDS awareness campaigns, this deep-rooted social stigma attached to the illness persists. Dora is 25, 6 months pregnant and HIV positive. In 2 months' time, she will begin a course of the drug AZT so that the virus is not passed on to her child. Dora tells the nurses she still hasn't summoned the courage to tell her mother she is HIV positive. Providing antiretroviral drugs is one of the ways Botswana is trying to become a model for all African nations in combating AIDS. The government talks openly about the causes and dangers of HIV as a way of destigmatizing it. And unlike South African President Thabo Mbeki, President Mogae has avoided the arguments and confusion concerning the links between the virus and AIDS. President, could you tell me, is there any doubt in your mind about what causes AIDS?
There never has been. I don't know what HIV/AIDS is. I'm told it's a virus, and I believe that virus, however it looks, is the one that causes AIDS.
So you completely believe in the international medical consensus about HIV and AIDS.
Exactly.
And that's what you...
That's what I believe in. That's what I've always believed in. And actually, I haven't met anybody in this country. Well, no, maybe that's not entirely true. There were some traditional doctors who said they thought it was something else and that they can cure it. But we have now brought them around and said, no, they shouldn't say that.
What do you say to people who...
We won't put them in prison, but they are talking nonsense.
Ready? 2 rounds.
It is not just those with AIDS that the governments must provide for. There are those left behind. In Khabane, 100 children have been orphaned. As in the rest of the country, the children here are being provided with education, housing and welfare. Udewetse was 9 when his mother died of AIDS-related diseases. He and his younger sister cared for her during her last days, but neither of them have been told what killed her. What do you want to be, Udewetse?
Doctor.
Why?
I want to help sick people.
Botswana's response to the AIDS pandemic is unique in sub-Saharan Africa. It offers a sense of hope to future generations. Even though it is a relatively wealthy and small African country, It believes it is showing that AIDS can only be defeated if all sectors of society rise to the challenge. And in doing so, it is destroying the African stereotype that all governments here are unable or unwilling to mobilize for the fight against AIDS.